Hey folks, it's Maxie here and welcome to another TEW2020 video. It's another one from our WWE save, the one that will go right from day one of TEW2020 right through until, well, if there's another version hopefully. So, it's a takeover, it's the second takeover that we're doing for the second time. We can have a wee look back. That's a good thing about this, we can have a wee look back at what happened the year prior. So, like last time, we'll be in the Garden. May as well keep that as a reoccurring theme. We will absolutely smash the attendance record. So 11,500 last year. This year it's Sami at 25,000, but obviously the Garden's capacity will be less than that, so we are looking at a sellout. Show rating last year saw a 73. That I'm a bit iffy on. We do have a very strong main event, one I've been working towards on NXT television. But that's what we're up against. We're up against the Dream winning the NXT Championship from Adam Cole. Last year we had Johnny Gargano versus Tyler Bate, Io Shirai versus Tegan Knox, Karrion Kross against Tommaso Ciampa, Rhea Ripley against Lita, and Mojo Rawley defeating Keith Lee. The thought of that, but again, ensuring that Keith Lee went to the main roster. So before we crack on, as always, you want to get social, you want to talk about TW, wrestling, fire a comment in the comment section and I'll get back to you. And if you want to buy the game or view other people's content or get some good mods, everything should be in the description below. If it's not, let me know and I'll make sure it's in every video going forward. So without further ado, we have time to take over in Boston. 16 segments await us then, in front of the 19,580, so a sellout of the Garden, and we start with some 6-man tag action, people that kind of need an opportunity and a spotlight. And it saw a decent matchup that saw the team of Alex Rodriguez, Apollo Crews and Dominik Dijakovic defeat the trio of Brendan Vink, Eddie Edwards and Jordan Devlin in 13:57 when Alex Rodriguez pinned Jordan Devlin. We are trying our best to really get A-Rod over and put him towards a good push in the Cruiserweight division. The 67 is pretty respectable. The 51 rating already shows me that Brendan Vink is more acquitted to being in NXT television than he is in the main roster, and obviously we'll progress to get him some more victories. That's a good sign that that's the kind of rating these guys can get, because the main roster is obviously changing to this product and should be at this product by WrestleMania. It's a long time, 9 months to change a product, so yeah, that's why it's a way back. We'll talk about WrestleMania 38 already, but it got the show off to a strong start and it got the crowd buzzing. We have an attack backstage. Our main match tonight for the NXT Championship is the champion Chad Gable defending against Ace Austin, but it's his bodyguard Babatunde who takes out Chad Gable. Will this put everything in the hands of Ace Austin? It remains to be seen. A 55 rated segment sees Babatunde look dreadful and Chad Gable look fantastic, with Chad Gable getting better at his gimmick. Next up, we had a showcase for some of the women on NXT that are looking to make a move going forward. And about that didn't have much heat and terrible wrestling, the team of Tori Storm and Future Vision, Deonna Purrazzo and Indy Hartwell, defeated the trio of Ashley Lane, Cheerleader Melissa and Jordynne Grace in 8:58 when Tony pinned Ashley with a strong 0. A 33 is a bit disappointing. This was apparently 6 jobbers, but you've got to build them up, you've got to give them these opportunities, and that is what we look to do. It did cool the crowd a little bit, but let's be honest, these 3 are going to be focal points of our women's division in the future, as is probably Jordynne Grace, so giving them these opportunity is what we need to do. So cool the crowd a little bit, but I'm sure we'll get them back. Next match, also in the women's division, was for the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships, and it was a poor matchup that saw the team of Arisa Nakajima and Rina Yamashita defeat Fight Club in 13:38, but this was because the tag champs Jessamine Duke was disqualified when fighting Yamashita. So my reason for this feud is obviously getting Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke ready for the main roster. Shayna's at that age of 40 where she might start to decline. Ronda's back from hiatus at ROH and PWG. We need to get these two ready. Now, there's that kind of way where obviously you need to get them over. We need to get their skills up. That's why they're in with talented wrestlers like Nakajima and Yamashita. So we can benefit. And we give the win to the baby faces because I don't want them just jobbing out all the time. I need to keep them strong as well because they will make the main roster hopefully. So I'm going to have a very crowded main roster at one point. But 53 is pretty decent considering, I say, we are progressing with our skills. Also in our crowded women division, we had a decent matchup that saw Dana Brooke defeat Priscilla Kelly in 11:59 with a Samoan driver, a 61. For those of you who joined me for TEW2016, Dana Brooke made absolutely tremendous strides in her development in NXT. Obviously the gains aren't as obvious this year because one, I'm in control of NXT, but if we can get her to that level, I'm setting that as one of my challenges. And the feud with her and Priscilla has been on for a while. Dana wanted to recruit Raquel Gonzalez as her kind of like tag partner because both kind of bodybuilders, but Raquel said no and aligned herself with Priscilla Kelly. And of course, after this one, we had Raquel Gonzalez just beat the crap out of Dana Brooke. It's just, when I've seen Raquel Gonzalez, I've been very impressed with her, like just in terms of the size of her, and she generally looks like someone that would absolutely just throw half the women about. She looks very just like a dominant figure, which the women's division's kind of lacked a wee bit. The only other one I'd say in NXT at least has probably been Rhea. So I want to just give as many different athletes a push as possible, and assume it's only a 33, but maybe she doesn't quite have the star power to have an angle like that. Did only go for 4 minutes, which is disappointing, but hopefully occasions like this can help build her up. Next up, we had a fantastic match in our NXT North American division, and it was a bout that had great wrestling and good heat, as Sami Callihan defeated Bronson Reed and Eli Dragunov in 14:06 when Sami Callihan pinned Bronson Reed with the curb stomp following interference from Casey Catanzaro. Sami Callihan wins the NXT North American Championship. A 76 year, it got the crowd hotter. The storyline here has been quite interesting. Basically, Sami has arrived in NXT again, this time no Solomon Crow crap. He's there with his Sami Callihan name, I think that's his actual name. And he's there with his friend, his leader, who's leading his own cult, and that is Jimmy Jacobs. They first off recruited Kaden Carter, and then eventually the most innocent female they could get. Just so small, just always smiling, Casey Catanzaro. And they've turned her against the world. She's turned heel, she's just all innocent, and then boom, low blow to Bronson Reed, setting up the victory. So she's turned heel, and that is their little stable at the moment. I can't remember the name of the stable off the top of my head, because I'm booking about 3 different saves at once, but I've got big things for that stable. Bronson's close to the main roster, and Dragunov doesn't need a championship because he's pretty much main roster whenever I can fit him in. And there we go. After the matchup, Jimmy Jacobs, Sami Callihan and Casey Catanzaro celebrate 48. The greatest tag team of TEW history, Mojo Bojo, are cutting a promo as they get their opportunity for the NXT Tag Team Championships against the Litcher brothers. And that was a 48. And the match itself delivered pretty well. It was a decent matchup that saw the Litcher brothers defeat Mojo Bojo in 13:48 when Pentagon pinned Mojo Rawley with a top rope Styles Clash. That was their first defence, so they were always going to win their first defence. Phoenix was a head and shoulders above the rest in terms of in-ring performance. A 72 spectacular. It got the crowd hotter. And yeah, I can't have Mojo Bojo just dominating for the start, but their time will come. Next up, we had the Women's Championship on the line. Kairi Sane gets another opportunity. But again, we're keeping Bianca looking really, really strong as she defeats her in 13:40 with a handful of the tights. Her third defence of the NXT Women's title, a 62. Bringing Bianca back to NXT was a perfect decision. Probably the same with Kairi. Bianca was just not getting used, wasn't over. And I've brought her back to NXT and she's just dominated. So she could probably go back to the main roster and be someone that will compete, probably straight in championship feuds. So really happy what we've done there. But bringing her back to NXT was certainly the best decision for her career. And after the matchup, Kairi Sane is just getting up and she's beaten up by the debuting Nicole Matthews, who runs down and beats down Kairi Sane. We've had Nicole Matthews for a wee while. She was out over in the Joshi Academy, developing there with her NXT women we've got over there. She wanted to take the main roster, and I'm like, well, she felt she was too big for the Joshi company, so I felt like, okay, we'll bring you back. I don't want to put you to NXT UK. We do need a bit more balance on NXT, so bring her in. I think her overness was probably too much for NXT UK, but perfect for NXT. So she'll be someone that will give Kairi Sane a wee feud, and we can go on with something with Bianca and another competitor for the NXT Women's Championship, because the next takeover will be Survivor Series weekend, so you've got a good bit of time to kind of develop people and get people in a good position for the best card possible. Next up, Isiah Scott, who had recently turned heel. What an opportunities, is cutting his promo on Ricochet. That was a 46. And the Cruiserweight Championship match had good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd, as Ricochet defeats Isiah Scott in 14:29 with a diving double knee drop. It was the third defence of the Cruiserweight Championship from Ricochet. An 80 ratings, could be one of the greatest matches in NXT TEW history anyway. But Ricochet is just back to form on NXT. Probably might just keep him here just to have good matches. And Isiah Scott, it's his first proper showcase event. I've not really used them much, and that's my bad. But these two get the crowd buzzing with a steal the show match, which will lead us to our main event. If we get a promo first from Ace Austin, and he says Babatunde has just destroyed Chad Gable. Chad Gable will not even make it to this matchup. I'm going to become the new NXT champion. That was a 65. Good promo. Will the match deliver? It does. So, and about the head superb wrestling in good heat. Chad Gable does make the match, and he does defeat Ace Austin in 17:38 by pinfall, and that is the second defence of his NXT title. Considering it's a 78, the chances this was probably about an 82, 83 because of the lack of psychology. It's just one of those things I'm going to have to get to deal with. Just the way workers are in these mods these days, they are all the talent in the world, but from a psychological point of view, yeah, they are a bit iffy. Not the mod's perfectly right. A lot of them maybe haven't got the best psychology in the world. I mean, God, 100 psychology is somebody like your Undertaker. But delighted with that, regardless, and that will give us a show rating of 75, which increases our popularity in 52 regions. So overall, one title change from 5, and that was, in fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One title change from 6, which was Sami Callihan winning the NXT North American Championship. Because Bronson's in that interesting position. If certain people were in certain positions, we could probably have pushed them onto the main roster. And by the certain people, I mean Nick Miller, Shane Thorne, Brendan Vink could have fitted with the Aussies, but there is something I've thought about that I could push him with. I just need to see if it'll allow him to change his disposition before he goes to the main roster, because babyface is maybe not quite the idea. So we look at our WWE stuff, etc. We've got literally straight into SummerSlam, so hopefully that'll be a good card there. Wrestle Dynasty was a decent show. Where's NXT? Am I blunt? I think I am. Show Funaki retires. Oh, that's a shame. Yep, I definitely went blunt and can't see NXT Takeover. That's another 3. Feedback was great, drawing a lot of praise. Good stuff. Sandman retired. Quite a few retirements actually happening at this time of year. You can see there, 3 or 4 there. Serena Deeb's contract, that's fine. We'll sort that one out. The Sandman was on my Legends house brand, so I'm pretty much sitting there with so many wrestlers that are on those contracts that are now retired. So that's at least Sandman, RVD, somebody else retired as well. So I'm losing a lot of people, but I've kind of just put Mansoor out there just to win every week to keep the fans happy. So we'll keep that there. And if we just do a quick switcheroo to Triple H or Booker, And that just tells us that Crazy Sarah Logan's contract's up. That's fine. She's been good. I'm quite happy to keep getting her over. 5.4 million viewers on the network for TakeOver. Wow. And the lack of big names. So we could have probably got even more people in attendance if we had more big names, but it's developmental. If you're a big name, you go to the main roster. So just a wee thing I want to check is the fact that I can get it from roster, but I need to get it through that roster. No, I can't. I was hoping to get a better wave perception. So the only major star is Triple H, which is fine. But in stars, we've got Ace Austin, Bronson Reed. So we're probably looking for people that are in that 70 kind of bracket, but I'm more than happy that they're our main guys because it's developmental. We don't need to be getting massive people in there. There's a wee spoiler for somebody we've signed as well, Laredo Kid. But I'd say size doesn't really matter. All that really does is just basically give them exposure in these kind of places as well when they're on NXT, so they'll be a bit more globally well known when they go to the main roster, rather than, oh great, they've got 80 overness in the US but maybe 20 overness in India. But yeah, overall, quite happy with NXT, building as I say for the future. Also a big fan of, look at that, broadcast revenues getting as good amount of money. Has always been the case, 7 million. Well, NXT's making all the money anyway, and well, I'll go to the main roster, so that's good. The WWE absorbs everything, ticket sales, etc. So helps the main roster, allows me to go and branch out and bring in more workers and more companies. But we have probably, what did I say, 300 workers, 95 on here. How many we got in the main roster? 108, so that's over 200 there. I don't book Oz, but Oz, if you look at developmental anyway, so that's 3 brands worth of people as well. People from Bandido all the way down to X-Pac's on a developmental deal before he retired, because he's in a very strange announce team, which is X-Pac, Tommy Dreamer and Renee Young, who does WWE Legends House. There's no plans to do any Legends takeovers or anything, but maybe at one point I'll do one and we'll have a laugh and we'll see what kind of people are in Legends House. But people like Chris Harris occupying the Braden Walker gimmick, or the one that I've been pushing, Eric Escobar, if you remember him. I've actually pushed him and gave him some victories. If we just quickly got the popularity, so he's not really gained popularity anywhere in the States because of where we are, but in terms of India, well, you can see there, since we started Legends House, he's up to a 12, so that's what I'm working on, is just basically having a wee side company that's getting me the accomplishments of getting up the levels of popularity, but just booking stuff for a laugh. So you can see there 2 free ratings, because it was judged on popularity, but it was just not fun. So I put it on performance, which is obviously going to hamper them to start with, so I'll probably move back eventually to popularity, because obviously their performances aren't going to be great as they get older. But it's going to be for wrestlers that are kind of like in a heavy decline, so I feel like expecting like 2025, 26, so I can give myself like Sami Zayn, Samoa Joe, Fergal Devitt, all when they're like 45, because they are getting close to that kind of age. It is quite an aging roster. Even like somebody like Cesaro could go in 5 years' time, and somebody like R-Truth can probably make the move from NXT. But Lashley's probably another prime example as well. Once the company in India gets a bit bigger, stars like that will move over. So I've blathered on enough. I hope you enjoyed it. SummerSlam is literally the next video. That'll be in a few days' time. So if you want to see that, keep your eyes out for uploads, and hopefully we can have some fun there. I'm not really bothered about gaining pop or losing pop with WWE now. Let's tell some goddamn stories. So thanks for watching. Take it easy. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye.